UFC 287. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya 2 in the main event for the middleweight title. Looking forward to talking about each of the matchups. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Also note, full UFC 287 fight companion going down Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss it. Let's get into the first fight of the night. It's Sam Hughes versus Jaqueline Amorim. I think that Amorim is a real prospect on the rise with her ground skills. I'm picking her to get the win over Sam Hughes. I feel like she's a legitimate submission threat. I'm going to pick her to get it done by submission here. Amorim, this is the LFA champion now coming into the UFC. Yes, it's been lower level competition for her, but if you look at the way she wins, it's always pretty damn impressive. I like the finishing ability. I like the submission game. And I think in this matchup here, she's going to get Sam Hughes out of there. On the side of Sam Hughes, I've always felt like she's a pretty tough girl with decent takedown defense, can kickbox fairly well. But Amorim's going to be too much for her on the ground. I think she's a prospect on the come up that we got to keep our eye on. Undefeated 6-0 Brazilian with slick submissions. She's heavy from top. She has good ground and pound. I think she's a legitimate prospect on the come up. And it's not like she doesn't have takedowns in her arsenal. She's going to get Sam Hughes down and she's going to submit her. I'm picking Amorim by sub. As far as the odds, wide towards Amorim, around minus 240 for her. Sam Hughes sitting at around plus 210. I'm riding with the Jaqueline Amorim side to start the UFC 287 fight card off. Second fight of the night, we got Steve Garcia and Jaqueline Nuerdanbieke. I'm picking Jaqueline Nuerdanbieke to get the win. I am going to call it by a decision. I know that Steve Garcia was badly knocked out by Meerschaert 2 fights ago, and Jaqueline does have a bit of power in his hands, but I feel like Nuerdanbieke's wrestling is going to be a true key to victory in this fight. I see him taking Steve Garcia down. I feel like he's going to be controlling fairly well from the top. As they get into the striking, Garcia is very scrappy, and he's a guy that starts really quickly. I think Nuerdanbieke has a punching power advantage. Could he land a clean counter and get a knockout? Yes. But I think he has a clear-cut wrestling/grappling advantage, and also the physical strength department strongly favors Jaqueline Nuerdanbieke. I think he wins this fight. I'm going to say by unanimous decision. I'm respecting the durability on the side of Steve Garcia, even though Nuerdanbieke does hit hard. I mean, you see, he gets a KO of Darek Minner, who was fighting with an injury, but before that, TJ Brown decision, Sean Soriano decision. I'm going to say he gets a decision win in this one. Steve Garcia coming off the Chase Hooper knockout, where he was a big dog, and he made Chase Hooper look terrible in that fight. Chase Hooper. Steve Garcia, he was a dog against Chase Hooper. Obviously, he's a dog here against Nuerdanbieke. He's sitting at plus 180. Nuerdanbieke, minus 200. I like the 2-1 favorite. I think Nuerdanbieke win unanimous decision in this fight. He's going to be able to take this fight to the mat and control. And I do think in the striking, harder puncher, maybe more powerful too. Watch out for the hooks and overhands of Jaqueline Nuerdanbieke. Next fight on the card, it brings us to catchweight, Trey Ogden, Ignacio Bahamondes. I'm picking Ignacio Bahamondes here. Now, Trey Ogden just made weight a couple weeks ago. He was supposed to fight against Manuel Torres. Torres unable to make the fight. Ogden was at 155. Now, they're giving him a 5 extra pounds, so the cut is only to 160. But not long ago, he's doing a real legit weight cut to 155. 160, yeah, it's a bit better, but it's not that much better. He gets, 4 extra pounds because he's probably coming on at 56 normally. Ignacio Bahamondes is a nasty prospect on the come up for me. I really like the striking skills. He's a straight finisher. I feel like Ogden is pretty well-rounded, though. And I was picking Ogden against Manuel Torres, and I think some people might be like, oh, Bahamondes is a striker, kind of like Torres, too, though. Wrong. Why did I go with Trey Ogden against Torres? Because Manuel Torres had not been past the first round in years. Ignacio Bahamondes has a legitimate gas tank. He continues to improve in each one of his fights, and he's a hungry finisher. I think Bahamondes gets the win here. I'm thinking it might be a third round knockout. Even though Ogden gets 5 less pounds to cut, I still think there could be a bit of taxing on the body. Wouldn't blow my mind if they go decision either, but I'm going to go Ignacio Bahamondes, win, third round TKO. Watch out for his spinning attacks. He's comfortable out of both stances. Nasty right hand straight down the line. Patient pressure, and the dude has 0 quit in him. Trey Ogden on the other side, well-rounded fighter. Decent jab. Pretty good kickboxing game. Can definitely grapple a bit. But I think Ignacio's going to have the takedown defense here and the dangerous striking to beat Trey Ogden. So I'm going with the striking prospect, Ignacio Bahamondes, to get himself a win. And we'll call it a third round TKO. As far as the odds, Bahamondes minus 290. It's a bit wide. Understandably so, though. Ogden coming in on a short notice. Plus 250 Ogden. I do think Ogden's going to be in shape and ready for a real fight. You know, somewhat of a similar matchup to Manuel Torres in the last one out, but I think Bahamondes is definitely more well-rounded than Torres, proven he can go longer, and I think a more legit threat. I think this is actually a much worse matchup for Trey Ogden, a guy that can control the pace and be patient, even though he's aggressive and comes with a lot of volume. Not going to necessarily just blitz and go crazy for the KO. He'll find the shots as they come to him. So Ignacio Bahamondes, I'll take him to win. I'll say third round TKO, but it definitely wouldn't blow my mind if they go the full 3. Ignacio for the W. Next fight on the card, it's Cynthia Calvillo versus Lupita Godinez. How could you pick Cynthia Calvillo? You can't. I'm picking Lupita Godinez to win. Now, I will say Lupi has not gotten a signature win, really, against anyone good throughout her UFC career just yet. Recent loss to Angela Hill. Calvillo's on a 4-fight losing streak, and all of those fights were when she decided, hey, I'm moving to 125, women's flyweight. She now at 35, nearly 36, decides, I want to cut back to 115. I think that's a mistake. I think that when you move up in weight later in your career, the percentage of success coming back down and actually looking good drops tremendously. I think that it's going to be a Godinez win by a decision. She's a pretty damn strong wrestler. I feel like the stand-up game with the high guard stance is good. She has decent straight shots she'll throw to mix in the takedowns, and she's got good control. Not a great finisher, though. Lupi's not a great finisher. On the other side, Calvillo, pretty solid wrestling in her own right. But against the younger Godinez, the girl on the come up, and the fact that she decided to be a 125er and now the failed 125-pound division to drop and fight a legit prospect at 115, it's going to be another loss for Calvillo. So I'm riding with Lupita Godinez to win. I say she gets it done by a unanimous decision. In my opinion, Cynthia Calvillo at this point, past her prime, and especially at 115, I think she looks worse than her last fight. Minus 240, Lupita Godinez, the favorite. Calvillo sitting at plus 240 on the dog side. I like Lupi to get the win. Yes, it's a wide tag. Yes, it's women's MMA. But ultimately, I got to go with the pick that I think's the right side. And the A side, to me, Lupi Godinez for the win. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, Gerald Meerschaert versus Joe Pyfer. I'm picking GM3 Gerald Meerschaert to beat Joe. I think he's going to win by submission here. The last fight from Meerschaert was a fucking huge W against Bruno Silva. The last fight for Joe Pyfer, who's he fighting against? Alan Amedovski, who shouldn't even be in the UFC, and yeah, he stops him. Before that, he's on the Contender Series winning. Ozzy Diaz win. Impressive, solid win. If you dig a little bit farther back, though, Joe has a submission loss to Jovan Patti, a guy who actually lost to Jamie Pickett on Contender Series, I believe, and he was submitted in that fight. Now you're throwing a submission ace in Gerald Meerschaert, who, in my opinion, also can strike a bit, too. I mean, we can't doubt his striking game. He dropped Bruno Silva. He landed a hard shot and got the guillotine choke there. I think Meerschaert's very live in this fight. Now, I do think Joe Pyfer is a strong kickboxer with a good jab. He rips the legs well, and I think in his own right, he's a solid grappler with pretty good strength, but Meerschaert's way trickier on the mat, and I think just way trickier even in the striking. There's sneaky knockout power with Meerschaert. I think Meerschaert's getting a sub. Second or third round. I think early in the fight, Pyfer can look pretty good, but as the fight goes on, you're going to start seeing him making mistakes, and mistakes that will be capitalized on by a submission ace like Gerald Meerschaert, who's known for comeback wins. He has great comeback ability. I'm going with Meerschaert to win. Underdog bet. I already bet on this underdog, so let's go. We're going dog money on Meerschaert here. Plus 165 as the dog. Joe Pyfer, minus 180. We're going underdog Gerald Meerschaert to get the win via submission over the young prospect in Joe Pyfer. I'm not counting out Meerschaert. He's 35 at middleweight. I think he's just coming into his flow. He looks better. Last five, 4-1. And the loss there, you know what? Krzysztof Jotko beat him on a decision. Jotko's not a bad fighter. He just got, in my opinion, a controversial loss over in PFL, up a weight class, to a guy that looks like he's taking the fucking secret juices. I'm picking Meerschaert for the win. I'm calling sub. He beats Joe Pyfer here. Next fight on the card. Karl Williams versus Chase Sherman. The pick in this fight is Karl Williams. I think he can take this fight to the ground. That's a big aspect that I think is going to lead him to victory. As far as the striking, though, Karl Williams has a pretty solid 1-2. But the wrestling is his bread and butter. And Chase Sherman, he was on a bad submission loss streak recently. He took an L to Waldo Cortez Acosta, who jumped in on a short notice to fight him and was beaten in the striking department. I can see Williams having success in the stand-up. I also can see Williams with way more success when he gets to fight to the floor. Now, Chase Sherman was the BKFC champ at one point, so he does have some hands, but very hittable with shots. I don't know. It hasn't looked great in the UFC comeback. I don't think Chase Sherman's beating Karl Williams here. I think he's going to take a fat L, unfortunately. I think Williams is a real solid prospect, former light heavyweight. There'll be a real speed edge. And he just fought like 3 weeks ago. And now he's jumping right back in. And he looks in real good shape. I like the abilities of Karl Williams with the wrestling background and all. The striking, stylistic matchup. I see him taking Chase Sherman to the mat and getting himself a win. And I do think in striking, Williams can have success too. But he'll find takedowns here. Williams, the odds for him, best I'm seeing is minus 390 for Karl Williams, which is grossly wide. Chase Sherman plus 385. In my opinion, the line should be a bit closer here. I don't know. I see minus 500 at Bet Online. Like, Karl Williams should be the favorite. 3-1, sure. 2-1 would be better, but 5-1? Damn, son. Wide-ass odds. Karl Williams, though, I see him getting it done. We'll call it win. I think method of victory-wise, for Williams' sake as a prospect, I'm going to actually lean it submission. I think he could actually maybe get a sub here. I was thinking decision earlier, but looking at the matchup, if Karl Williams can get Chase Sherman down and actually work towards some ground and pound, soften him up, get the back and lock something up, rear naked choke in front of the fans, huge stock boost for him. Karl Williams, the pick to get it done. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card. The ladies going after it. It's Michelle Waterson-Gomez versus Luana Pinheiro. I do think this fight, unfortunately, is like a changing of the guard. I'm going to pick Luana Pinheiro to get the win. She's a pretty solid kickboxer who throws with straight dynamite power and comes with crazy pressure. She does have a good judo background, which, enables her to throw opponents pretty well. Michelle Waterson on the other side is an extremely quick kickboxer, the karate hottie. She's got that karate base of stand-up, very comfortable out of both stances, and even has sneaky takedowns of her own and is pretty strong for a girl who at one point did very good work at women's atom weight, which is 105 pounds. The pick for Pinheiro, I just have to go this way. I think she's going to be able to land more shots on the feet, maybe land a throw. Now, Pinheiro's ranked 15th in the world at women's straw. Michelle Waterson, number 10. like I said, I think this is a passing of the guard. 37 years old for Michelle Waterson, 29 for Pinheiro. Waterson hasn't had great success in a very long time. Always competitive in fights, and I think she'll be competitive once again in this matchup, but I gotta pick the young prospect to get the W. Hard-fought win by decision for Luana Pinheiro is gonna be the side that I ride with. As far as the odds, she's a favorite, minus 155 for her. Michelle Waterson, plus 146 as the dog. I like Luana Pinheiro by decision, but not, one of my favorite bets to make between these two. But I do think it's a passing of the guard, really. But if it was prime Michelle Waterson, this is a fucking dogfight. I could see her in her prime beating a Pinheiro. But now, 37. When's the last time she won a fight? 2.5 years ago, a split decision over Angela Hill. That's a long time ago in MMA. Luana Pinheiro, I think, is the girl on the come up. She's getting the win here. We'll call it decision victory for her. Let's keep running. Let's get to the featured prelim. It's Kelvin Gastelum versus Chris Curtis. This is about to be a fucking scrap. I think this might be the sleeper fight of the night. As far as method of victory, as far as prediction, I think it's going over 2.5. I'll tell you guys that. And I'm picking the Kelvin Gastelum side to get the win. Chris Curtis has big power in his hands. Both guys comfortable out of the southpaw stance. But Kelvin Gastelum's durability is out of this world. Super durable. He also can box his ass off. Nasty straight left hand. Good wrestling base too. Chris Curtis has yet to be taken down in his UFC career. That doesn't mean it's impossible to take him down. That doesn't mean Kelvin Gastelum in this fight will not mix in takedowns. I think he will. He should. I think even if you're attempting takedowns and that kind of stifles the Chris Curtis striking game a bit, Gastelum can have some successes. I feel like this is a true pick'ems fight and a coin flip type matchup because it really could go either way. I like the over 2.5 more so than the actual pick in this fight. As far as betting, I like the over 2.5 actually a lot. Very durable guy in Kelvin Gastelum and Chris Curtis. Over 2.5 I think is a good play, especially for your parlays if you're looking for something. I'm going to pick Gastelum to win. I'm thinking maybe split decision. I wrote win by decision, but I also have, slash split. I could see this fight being a split decision and going the way of Gastelum in a super competitive fight. Chris Curtis is a super powerful striker, really good boxing skills, solid jab with a huge left hand. And he's dangerous as fuck. He trains with Sean Strickland. On the other side, this is a Kelvin Gastelum that gave hell to Israel Adesanya. He's still going long against the best middleweights in the world, aside from the Jack Hermanson weird, quick leg lock submission. It is what it is with that fight. Kelvin Gastelum, he goes long. He takes fights against the best, and he's competitive. I think he's 31. He's gotten over some injuries. I think he can get the win here. I'm not done with Kelvin Gastelum yet. I don't think it's career over. He's a lot younger than Chris Curtis. He's fought the best of the best. He has taken damage, but the durability has always stuck with him. And I expect Curtis to land money shots. Gastelum takes it and keeps bringing the heat. I'll say Gastelum, hard-fought decision win in a fight that goes the distance. Minus 110 for Gastelum, plus 110 for Curtis. We are looking at essentially a true pick'ems fight, and that over 2.5 is also sitting around the minus 220 range. Gastelum, the pick, but damn, it's going to be close. Let's get to the main card. If you guys haven't, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Raul Rosas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez. The pick here is going to be Rosas Jr. I have to ride with the 18-year-old freak who looks like he's going to be the next big thing. I mean, it's very rare for someone at 18 to be controlling men in the grappling department like that. Holy shit. He destroyed Jay Perrin in the last fight. Now, Christian Rodriguez is not an easy fight. Rodriguez is a guy who trains with Rufus Sports, so he's out there with Anthony and Sergio Pettis. They're savages over at that gym. He's a really skilled kickboxer. Nasty right and left hand. I feel like he's got that pretty good tight guard style, and at 25, Christian Rodriguez looks kind of ahead of his years in his striking abilities. Where the question lies is the takedown defense. We've seen him taken down. He got a submission win against Joshua Weems in his last fight, but Raul Rosas would run through a Joshua Weems as well. I think Rosas is going to land takedowns here. Now, Rosas has a striking background, but he has become a monster grappler, put a ton of work into his wrestling. His takedowns are really solid. He seems to have, that it factor at 18 to be able to do what he's doing, move in the way that he is. I see very special talent with Rosas Jr., and I think he capitalizes on this matchup right here and beats a real good fighter in Christian Rodriguez, who I think also has a future in the UFC. But it's Raul Rosas Jr. for the win. I'm calling Rosas win. I'm going to say he gets the submission. We saw Jonathan Pierce have a lot of success with takedowns in his fight against Christian Rodriguez. I expect a lot of success here for Raul Rosas as well. And in the striking, don't doubt Rosas either, because he can definitely kickbox. As far as the odds, Rosas, bit of a favorite, minus 220 range. And then Christian Rodriguez at about plus 200 as the dog. I like Rosas Jr. to get the win. I'm calling it win via submission for him. And holy shit, at 18, he's going to already have 2 wins in the UFC, beating grown-ass men. Respect to Raul Rosas. Good prospect. Nasty prospect. And he's fighting a real tough one, but he's going to get it done. Next fight on the card, we got Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. I'm picking the Kevin Holland side. I do think he should be able to land the more significant strikes in a hard-fought battle and beat a Santiago Ponzinibbio. Now, you look at Ponzi's last fight. Yes, Alex Morono was having great success in the stand-up against him for the first 2 rounds before Ponzinibbio dropped the bomb on him and got a 3rd-round knockout. Note this. Short notice replacement, Alex Morono was. So, him coming in on short notice, you're not preparing for that guy, whereas now he's known that he's fighting Kevin Holland for a while. The factor that I really like about Holland is his range, 81-inch reach to 73. That's a massive 8-inch reach advantage. Kevin Holland, I think, is also the faster guy. Ponzinibbio, 36 years of age. I think he's still very dangerous and competitive with some of the best welterweights on the planet. And I think he'll still be competitive against Kevin Holland here. It's a very wide tag as far as the odds go, which is unfortunate, but it does make sense. Holland, the younger guy, just had a war with Wonderboy, and one of the few people that really was able to get to Wonderboy in the striking and hurt him. I think Kevin Holland's going to have successful moments in the stand-up here. It would not blow my mind if he knocked Ponzinibbio out in this fight, but you got to respect that Argentine dagger chin. Besides the Leech fight, Ponzinibbio's been taking great shots. I'm kind of leaning Kevin Holland by a decision. I'm picking Kevin Holland, though. Money line, official pick. Unfortunately, the odds are wide. Minus 235 for Kevin Holland, plus 230 for Santiago Ponzinibbio. Not great tag, but I do feel like Kevin Holland's getting a victory in this fight. I could see him dropping big combos on Ponzinibbio and stopping him, but I could also see a hard-fought win by decision. And don't be surprised when Ponzinibbio looks to wrestle, because Kevin Holland has shown to have lapses in his wrestling game. Ultimately, this matchup here, I don't think those lapses are substantial. I actually think Kevin Holland will be able to fend off takedown attempts by Ponzinibbio. I feel like in the striking department, he's got that speed advantage. I feel like from distance, the range is going to be a huge factor. And I'm picking Kevin Holland to beat a dangerous fighter in Santiago Ponzinibbio. More power maybe on the side of Ponzinibbio, but speed favors Kevin Holland, and I'm picking him with the range too. He picks his shots fairly well. Yes, he lacks wrestling, but this is the matchup that he can shine in. Kevin Holland for the win. Maybe a late knockout or a decision. Method of victory is blurry in this one, but I see Kevin Holland with his hand raised. Let's get to the featured bout of the night. It's Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. I got to pick Adrian Yanez here. As much as I love to, shout out my guy from Massachusetts, the New England Cartel, and definitely a durable live underdog in Rob Font, Adrian Yanez is a nasty prospect. People say, oh, well, he had a close fight with Davey Grant. Yeah, Davey Grant's a fucking savage, and I think Rob Font in a fight with Davey Grant, that would be a scrap. You saw Davey Grant in there with the likes of Marlon Vera. In the last fight, Davey Grant won against a Sun Tzu, the fucking inverted triangle. Even though the cage grab, but it is what it is. This fight right here, Adrian Yanez, I think, lands the harder punches. He has that Masvidal-esque striking style. Rob Font has pretty good straights down the line. He's going to have a little bit of a height and reach advantage, but he's going to lack in explosiveness and speed edge, in my opinion. I looked at Rob Font and Marlon Vera, and I say, okay, Rob Font inside is very hittable. Adrian Yanez mixes it up so well with his punches, and he's improving constantly. He's 29 years of age. Adrian Yanez has entered his prime as an up-and-coming bantamweight contender. Rob Font at this point past 35. In all actuality, at 135 pounds, when you're past 35 years of age, you are slightly out of your prime. That's not saying Rob Font has zero chance to win this fight, but I like the chances for Yanez. Oh, but Randy Costa was jabbing his face off. That was Randy Zohan Costa's best fight of his life. That fight took everything out of him because he's never come back the same since then. Adrian Yanez is on a great tear right now. He clearly won an impressive fight against Davy Grant, hurting him, and Davy Grant's a savage. I mean, the Tony Kelly fight, that was a salami squash match, and Yanez squashed the bug in Tony Kelly. Now he fights Rob Font. It's going to be hard to get a stoppage of Rob Font. I don't think he does. I think Yanez wins by a decision. Huge opportunity for him. We always compare him to Masvidal. Funny that they're fighting on the same card. Masvidal in the next fight that we'll be talking about. Yanez, I'm calling him. Winning it. Decision, though. Be very hard to stop a Rob Font. Yanez, minus 171. Rob Font, plus 160. Yeah, I'm going Adrian Yanez to win. And I'll say it's a decision in a great striking match. Co-main event of the evening, Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. I'm picking Gilbert Burns in this fight. And I tried to pick Jorge Masvidal, guys. I tried, but I couldn't. I went back and I'm watching Gilbert Burns. Obviously, he killed Neil Magny in the last fight. He fights Khamzat Chimaev in their tit for tat. I'm like, damn, Masvidal looks slower against Colby Covington. Colby was able to get on top of Masvidal, have his back. If Gilbert Burns gets your back, he's a lot more of a threat than a Colby Covington. Colby has great wrestling, great pace and pressure, but he has way less power than Gilbert Burns and way less jiu-jitsu than Burns. And I think takedown-wise for this matchup, Burns could put Masvidal on his ass. And in the striking, I think he could hurt Masvidal with overhands because Masvidal is going to be very concerned about takedowns coming after him. I think Masvidal slow down a bit. At 38 years of age, there comes a time for fighters where they slow a bit. I feel like we saw a bit of that slowing from Masvidal in the Colby Covington fight. Yes, Masvidal has dynamite power in his hands, mean hooks, flying knee that he killed Ben Askren with, beat the shit out of Nate Diaz. But he hasn't won since he beat Nate Diaz, which is what? Nearly 3.5 years ago is the last win for Masvidal. Granted, 2 losses to Usman, who at the time was, top pound for pound, dominant welterweight champion. And then Colby Covington in the last one beats him. But Gilbert Burns has been on a tear. Tyron Woodley win, which is huge. He loses to Usman, but he's the first man that really hurt Kamaru Usman. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, hard-fought win against dangerous Wonderboy. This is nearly 2 years ago now. War with Khamzat Chimaev, where he clearly won the second round. The most dominant round of the fight was the second round, and that was Burns' round. Third fight, competitive. First fight, first round, Chimaev. Third round, close, but I think maybe you edge it a little bit, Chimaev. But I could understand why people think Burns won it. Gilbert Burns is a fucking monster. And like I said, the last one destroys Neil Magny 2 months ago. He's ready to go. Burns is on fire. I think at 36, Gilbert Burns right now is looking better than we've ever seen him before. It's interesting, right? To see the age difference between these two is less than 2 years. But I feel like Burns is in his peak, whereas Masvidal has dipped from it. I'm going to pick Gilbert Burns to win. How does he get it done? I'm going to say submission. And I don't think it's crazy if it's a club and sub. Overhand rocks Masvidal a bit because he's so concerned about the takedown. Burns is all over him, locks up the sub. I'm going Gilbert Burns, win by submission. We haven't seen Masvidal submitted since, I believe, the Toby Amata fight way back in the day. I think this is one where he could be subbed here. Burns is a crazy wide favorite, which it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Minus 400 for Gilbert Burns. Masvidal plus 380. He's a massive underdog. Could Masvidal land the perfect punch? Maybe, but it's like I don't question Burns' durability. His drive is next level. This is the best we've seen out of Gilbert Burns. I'm not going to pick against him. I can't. I love Masvidal. I love that the card's in Miami. I was loving the Joe Rogan podcast episode with Masvidal. So as a fan, it's like, it would be sick to see Masvidal fight Leon Edwards for the belt. But realistically speaking, Gilbert Burns should run him out of that cage. Gilbert Burns for the win. We're picking him. Let's keep running and jump to the main event. Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya 2. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you haven't. Make sure you subscribe. Really the fourth fight across combat sports between these two savages. I have to pick Alex Pereira to get the win against Adesanya again. Yes, Israel Adesanya is more slick than Alex Pereira. Technically, he's incredible. Beautiful straight punches down the line that he finds on Alex Pereira. My concern lies upon Alex Pereira's durability is crazy. He's going to keep moving forward and plotting on Adesanya. You got 3 wins over a guy already. And Israel Adesanya struggled a lot near the cage with Alex Pereira. Also note, Adesanya, people say, oh, he's just going to try to wrestle for 25 minutes. Unless you are someone who dedicated, their entire career to being a chain wrestler, you are not going to be able to keep that type of pace up for 25 minutes. It's going to be extremely hard to take Pereira down constantly, hold him down, unless Adesanya looks for like some type of submission. And let's not forget that Alex Pereira is training his ass off in the grappling too. I've seen footage of him working in the clinch. He knows Adesanya is probably going to look to shoot a bit here. The power favors Pereira. The mental is on Alex Pereira right now. The mental side. He's won 3 fights to 0. Oh, well, the first one was controversial. It wasn't that. It was close, but come on. Oh, but Adesanya hurt him here. But Pereira flatlined him and KO'd him in the cage. Rather, TKO. Still hurt him bad and had him out of there. Alex Pereira is the guy. He is Adesanya's kryptonite, and it sucks because I really believe Israel Adesanya is one of the best middleweights we have ever seen in mixed martial arts, but he's fighting his boogeyman stylistic matchup. 6'4" on both sides, 80-inch reach on both sides. Israel Adesanya, when he was in the UFC, was not used to facing guys who are eye-to-eye with him like that. Especially Pereira, who just is willing to walk through fire and his durability is crazy. Yes, Adesanya hurt him with a big right hand and then an after-the-bell left hook in the first fight, which wobbled Pereira for sure. Pereira's recovery is off the charts. And when Pereira hits Adesanya, it seems as though Adesanya cannot recover. Adesanya can land way more strikes, but Pereira, when he lands, there's a lot more pain and sense of like, oh shit, on the face of Adesanya. I have to ride with Alex Pereira for another knockout. I'm thinking 4th or 5th round KO, could be in the 3rd. I think later KO win for Alex Pereira. He beats Adesanya again. The true kryptonite. As far as the odds, Pereira plus 120 as the dog. I'm going underdog in this main event. Adesanya minus 130. This is the 4th time they face off. Is there a chance for Adesanya? Of course. He's more slick than Alex Pereira. He's been doing MMA for longer. But when you're 3 down against someone, I guess, hey, maybe there's more of a chance on this fourth one, but or it's, oh shit, I'm down 3. Fuck, he's got me in a bad spot again. No, I can't lose again. And then boom, loss happens. Pereira's ready for this shit. I think he's going to get another win over Israel Adesanya, and that sucks so bad for Izzy, but Pereira is just that motherfucker. Alex Pereira, main event winner, UFC 287, and still champion, and he wins the rivalry 4-0 against the great Israel Adesanya. Holy shit. UFC 287, it's bringing the heat. I hope you guys enjoyed the full card predictions. Make sure you smash that like button. Definitely in the comments, let me know your main event prediction. I'm curious what the people are thinking. If you have nothing to say in the comments, but you just enjoy the content, make sure to drop a W in the chat. Thank you all for watching. Plenty of content coming all week long, so stay tuned in. And as I mentioned early in the video, full card fight companion, 6 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday for UFC 287. Cannot wait for it. Thank you, my people. Much love, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everyone.